Okay, good morning. My name is Captain Dave Zanaboni. I'm the Public Information Officer for Santa Barbara County Fire Department. Thank you for all coming this morning, helping us get the word out about this fire. This morning we have representatives from all the agencies involved in fighting this fire. I'm going to introduce them one at a time. If I could please ask everyone to hold all questions until the very end, once all the speakers are done talking. At that time, questions will be allowed, and after that, the individuals will also be available for any one-on-one if there's any additional questions. Following this press conference, all the information that's given out today will also be provided electronically for all of you. This time I'd like to introduce Santa Barbara County Fire Chief Eric Peterson.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here. Before I begin, I'd like to start by introducing and welcoming our 3rd District Santa Barbara County Supervisor Doreen Farr, who is standing here behind me. This has been a significant and challenging fire. It's burning in an area notorious for life and property loss, structure loss, and fuels that have not burned for over 70 years. We are fighting this fire aggressively, and all of the partners in Unified Command, CAL FIRE, the United States Forest Service, law enforcement, are in excellent communication and have good, long-standing relationships, and that's paying off extremely well at this time. We are all putting forth tremendous effort to keep this fire in its box. The fuels, topography, and weather conditions have been very challenging, to say the least, in this fire. We understand that the evacuations and road closures have been difficult for many people, but they've been absolutely necessary. I am confident that all that can be done at this point is being done. I want to end by thanking my partners in the Santa Barbara County op area who have stepped up to the plate in a huge way. All of the agencies in Santa Barbara County have participated in this incident in a huge way, and we appreciate it very much. Next, I'd like to introduce Los Padres National Forest Supervisor Bob Baird. Thank you.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bob Baird. I'm the Forest Supervisor of the Los Padres National Forest. We stand today in unified command with our partners in the county, with our partners in CAL FIRE, to address the Sherpa wildfire that's occurred, as you know, vicinity of Highway 1 near the Los Padres National Forest. It was a significant effort last night through the night with our firefighting resources in a combined effort. It isn't one agency, it's all our agencies combined that came together, and it's been a tremendous team effort. Each agency has brought its strengths to this challenge. We've brought the federal air tankers in, as well as the night air attack platform, and we're continuing to use all the resources we have to be able to bring in to deal with the wildfire. We appreciate the impact to the public, and we appreciate the public's cooperation in making sure that we get everyone safe and that we take care of life first in the public and take care of firefighter safety, as well as minimize the impacts to the natural resources out there, as well as the homes and the critical infrastructure that's out there. We stand in cooperation to continue to bring in an incident management team in unified command. So there's been a Type 2 incident command team ordered. They'll assume command of the wildfire today, and we're delegating command to them so that they can continue to press and address this both public challenge that we have with the wildfire. I want to also reiterate to the public that the forest went into level 3 fire restrictions, which is where we banned significant the public's impact and the risk to campfires. Those fire restrictions have already been in effect prior to this fire happening, and we'd appreciate the press's support in getting that information out so we ensure that there's not a continued threat of wildfire. So thank you.
CAL FIRE Unit Chief Scott Jalbert.
Good morning. As already said, that we are in unified command with the Santa Barbara County Fire Department and the U.S. Forest Service. That's working very well. We've deployed resources throughout the state as far away as from Tulare to San Bernardino, and we're receiving assistance not just from the federal agencies and the state agencies, but the local agencies as well. We're pretty fortunate right now that we don't have a lot of fire activity throughout the state. That could change this weekend as the heating trend is going to increase, so we all have to be careful out there. And all the agencies are working close hand in hand, and we're going to continue to do that until we have this fire controlled. Thank you.
Thank you, Chiefs. At this time, I'd like to introduce Santa Barbara County Sheriff Bill Brown.
Thank you. The Sheriff's Office and other law enforcement agencies that are involved in this fire are in a support role to the fire agencies, and our mission is to provide for the evacuation of threatened areas, to notify people of evacuation orders, and also to notify people of evacuation warnings where the potential exists for the fire to spread. So far on this fire, the county, through our emergency management, has made 428 emergency notification phone calls to residents and to businesses that are in the fire area. 395 of those calls were for mandatory evacuation, and 33 of them were for warnings. The mandatory evacuation areas have involved residents and a limited number of commercial operations that are in the areas of Refugio, Venadito, Las Flores, up to El Capitan canyons. All of those are under mandatory evacuation orders. We have had great cooperation from the residents in those areas, from the ranchers. You'll have a briefing here momentarily about the equine evacuation, livestock evacuations that have been taking place. The American Red Cross has set up a shelter at the Wake Center. It's an adult education center at 300 North Turnpike with a capacity for 300 people. We have transported people there. The Sheriff's Office actually transported in one of our jail buses 30-some campers from the El Capitan campground who did not have transportation last night, and we provided that for them. The Santa Ynez High School is on standby for another evacuation center should it become necessary. The warning areas at this point consist of the Destiladera, the La Lagas, the Gato, the Dos Pueblos, and Eagle Canyon areas up to and including Farron Road. So if you are in a residence, a ranch, or a commercial operation that's in those areas, you should be preparing to evacuate by gathering valuable belongings, pets, and being ready to go on a notice if the fire continues to spread. The potential for the fire to leapfrog over to the south from the canyons is what is of concern at this point. So we would appreciate it if anyone in those areas would take precautions and be ready to evacuate at a moment's notice. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. I'd like to bring up CHP Lieutenant Steve Larson.
Good afternoon. I have good news. The 101 is completely open. Due to public safety last night, of course, we had to close 101 down because of the fire. It's approximately got about 20 yards away from the freeway, and that was just way too close, of course. But again, good news. Everything's open. 154 is open, and we're going to keep our traffic cones and our barricades in place just in case the fire sparks up again, so we can respond and take care of business. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to bring up California State Parks Representative Eric Jestrom.
Good morning, Eric Jelstrom, State Parks. I'm the sector superintendent in charge of the Santa Barbara sector. Refugio and El Capitan State Beach are part of my area of responsibility. As you know, last night the fire took a fast run towards the ocean, and we found it necessary for public safety to evacuate both of those parks. I'm happy to report that we were able to do that without incident, and both parks are currently closed. There are people who did leave equipment when they left last night, and now that the freeway is open, those folks are free to come back and retrieve their belongings, and we have officers standing by to assist with that. As of right now, we have closed those parks and canceled reservations through next Friday, 1 week from tomorrow. Everybody who has an impacted reservation will receive an email and/or voice call from California State Parks informing them of that. We're going to constantly monitor the situation, and we'll adjust as needed. Right now, our focus is on public safety, protecting property, and the natural and cultural resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. From Santa Barbara County Animal Services, Lisa Kenyon.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Kenyon. I'm the Shelter Operations Supervisor with County Animal Services. 83 horses are currently being stabled at the Earl Warren Showgrounds. A majority of these 83 horses came from 3 particular ranches. Approximately 50 of those 83 came from the Circle Bar B Ranch. The horse evacuations were handled by our partner organizations from the Santa Barbara Humane Society. Another one of our partners, Equine Evac, also participated. Some of the horses were transported to the fairgrounds by their own owners. A special thanks go to the horse evacuation team members who worked until late into the night. Sammy's Doggy Dude Ranch proactively transferred 6 dogs being boarded at their facility to the Diogi Pet Resort in Goleta last evening. 15 horses on that same property are ready to be evacuated if necessary. A supply of small crates were taken to the Red Cross Evacuation Center at the Wake Center last night, which allowed people staying at the center to keep their 4-legged family members by their sides. Santa Barbara County Animal Services is grateful to the partners and the public for working together to keep the animals in our community safe. Members of the public are encouraged to call Animal Services hotline at 681-4332 if they are able to offer assistance in the future with temporary housing of large animals and small animals. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And our final speaker today is going to be Santa Barbara County Public Health Director, Dr. Takashi Wada.
Great, thank you. I'm Dr. Takashi Wada, spelled T-A-K-A-S-H-I. The last name is Wada, W-A-D-A. The Santa Barbara County Public Health Department and the Santa Barbara County Air Pollution Control District have issued an air quality warning for the southern areas of Santa Barbara County. The warning will remain in effect through the weekend unless conditions change. Smoke from the Sherpa Fire is impacting local air quality. Level of smoke and particles and areas impacted will vary depending on winds and on containment of the fire. Some smoke is blowing offshore and may come back onshore if conditions change. Other areas of Santa Barbara County could be affected depending on these winds. If you see or smell smoke in the air, be cautious and use common sense to protect your and your family's health. Everyone, especially people with heart or lung disease, including asthma, older adults, children, should limit time spent outdoors and avoid outdoor exercise when high concentrations of smoke and particles are in the air. If you have symptoms that may be related to exposure to smoke and soot, contact your healthcare provider. Symptoms can include coughing, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, wheezing, chest tightness or pain, palpitations, nausea, or unusual fatigue or lightheadedness. Hot weather is expected for the next several days. Use your best judgment when it comes to keeping your home cool when there's smoke in your area. Keep windows and doors closed unless it is extremely hot. If you have an air conditioner, run it with fresh air intake closed and the filter clean. If you have a whole house fan, turn it off unless it is extremely hot. If smoke is not present where you live, take the opportunity to air out your home. Also with us today is the director of the Air Pollution Control District, Erin Arlen Janae, and she's also available as I am for questions after this press conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wada. I want to add that the county has opened the Joint Information Center at the Emergency Operations Center, and that phone number for the public and for media, that phone number is area code 805-696-1188. And people can call that number and get information on the fire at any time. That'll be staffed 24 hours as long as this fire is active. We don't have another news conference scheduled. There's a tentative time maybe, depending on fire activity, that we'll look at the same time tomorrow, 11 a.m. tomorrow. But that hasn't been discussed yet, so we're just tentatively calling for that. And if you have any questions, now is the time.
Well, we would like to have the fire buttoned up completely by then. That's realistically, that's not going to happen. We would like to have, when we have a fire like this, we try to build a box around it, and we have 3 sides of that box that we're working on right now. The difficulty with this fire is the east side of it. There are very little opportunities to tie it in. There's no roads or avenues of opportunity to tie that in, and so what's happening right now is there's a lot of air resources being focused on that end of the fire, as well as hand crews, because that's just about all that we can get in there at this point. So we're hoping to get that as close as we can.
Chief Calvert, do you have the personnel necessary, or are you going to require more to get in there to do the groundwork on a direct attack?
Right now, we have quite a bit of resources assigned to the incident. We have more coming in preparation for the next operational period. One thing to keep in mind is that, remember in the Central Coast and in Southern California, we're still recovering from a drought. And with that, the fuels are really prime to burn, and you add the time that this fuel hasn't burned in 50-something years. And then you add the wind component. So you add all those components together, and it makes it a challenge with those conditions in alignment to get containment. So our best opportunity is when things calm down a little bit.
Final question, I'm sorry on this one. I got to get the numbers. We're at 500 right now. Depending upon the weather, what do you think realistically you might need on the line here? 750, 1,000, what?
I have to defer that question to one of the incident commanders or operations on that, but I would say somewhere between 500 and probably 1,000.
The last number I heard was 1,200 acres. That hasn't changed that I'm aware of. We have some operational people here that can update that if necessary. That number still holds for now. I don't think the fire's been flown since this morning. 0% containment. Obviously, it's going to get bigger. It's getting bigger as we speak.
Can I just interrupt real quick? Are you guys done with these two, or? No. Okay, I'm just going to ask the people that are asked the questions to just try to repeat the question so everybody can understand the best you can. Thank you.
Will you please address concerns you may have with the forecast, this excessive heat coming in this weekend, Monday, plays with this fire?
The question relates to the forecast, the forecasted weather coming up in the next weekend. We're obviously very concerned about it. It's going to be hot and dry. We've got a very conducive to fire behavior weather pattern coming in. And so that is why, as Chief Jalbert mentioned, we're trying to get as many resources in here as we can and build a box around this thing just as quickly as we can. But yes, we're very concerned.
Timeline for that happening?
I don't have a timeline at this point.
Gentlemen, can you talk about which direction the fire is moving now and the level of danger to the Reagan Ranch and to the oil facilities?
My last report on the Reagan Ranch, the question is about the Reagan Ranch and oil facilities and the threat to those. My last report regarding the Reagan Ranch is that the fire was burning away from the ranch. I last heard it was about 1.5 miles away and burning in the opposite direction. With regard to the oil facilities that are out there, last night the fire bumped one of the oil facilities, came fairly close. My understanding is there's been no infrastructure damage, no structure damage. There's good defensible space, obviously, built in around those kinds of facilities, and that paid off last night. We had a lot of resources, engine companies deployed in those areas to protect them, and we were able to do that.
Are they still operating now? Are they able to operate?
Well, they're under evacuation just as everyone else is, so I can't really speak to that, though. They are under operation, so I assume they've toned things down. It's close to being mothballed, I would assume. Low personnel.
And then do you have an idea of the fire? Where is it going?
Well, let me speak on that. So the wind pattern's really going to drive this fire, and during the days, like right now, we're getting a west wind onshore push. The fires burn towards the east, but then we get the sundowner component in the late afternoon and the evenings, and then that changes the direction of the fire towards more of the south.
Yeah.
Do you have an idea how many structures or homes are at risk at this point?
Last night I heard on the west side of the fire there are approximately 80 homes, structures.
Could you please repeat the areas where people live that they should be on alert for possible evacuation? I believe
Yeah.
the sheriff.
The question was asking to repeat those areas that are on a warning and where people should be prepared to evacuate. That's anyone living in the areas of Destilladera Canyon, La Lagas Canyon, Gato Canyon, Dos Pueblos Canyon, and Eagle Canyon, up to and including Farron Road. So anything between El Capitan and Eagle Canyon, up to and including Farron Road, would be considered in that area that should be, people in there should be prepared to evacuate.
Okay, if that's all the questions, I'd like to clarify one thing. I gave out the JIC number, the Joint Information Center phone number, and I was mistaken. That number is for media only. It's for you folks only. It's not for the public information. So if you can just correct that for me. And that number again was 805-696-1188. And that's going to conclude our news conference today. Thank you for coming.